Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Hello, we are live on the Business Octopus live stream. How are we doing, Amanda?
Fabulous. We've been having a very interesting discussion offline this morning, haven't we, Avon? And we thought we'd bring it to the crew listening this afternoon,
Yes, but
tonight.
before we get into that, I like your shirt.
Isn't it fun? And check this out. Wait, which shoulder is it? Oh yeah, look at that. Ollie on the shoulder. Love that. So cool.
So if you're not in the know, that's the Relevate Community Networking logo. So it's kind of like a sub logo, which kind of, I guess the octopus is like, bringing things together, and it's like the 8-arm cuddle.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's gonna stick now. Wow, love that.
Yeah. Really suctions on there. All right, so here we are. We're going to talk about when to quit. So
Yeah.
if you're doing something and you feel like you've been doing it for a long time, when's the right time to make the decision? And I think sometimes it's longer than you think, and then sometimes it's shorter than you think. And maybe if we talk through some of the evidence that you should continue or the evidence that you should stop, and then maybe we can help you make a good decision. So we want to try and give some thinking juice to, should you continue investing your time or continue or change tack or pivot or something like that. And I've got some times where we've definitely put in a hell of a lot of effort, and we've had to decide to make a call and pull the pin. And then there's times where we know that a lot of first-time business owners in particular don't go long enough, don't spend enough time. So maybe if we delve into some of that, we'll help make a decision. So is there anything that is in your mind, Amanda, about when to quit?
So I heard this saying many, many years ago. I can't remember where I picked it up. The saying is, do whatever it takes for as long as it takes until it takes. Now, I believe it has validity if you're willing to pivot, if you're willing to shift gears, change direction slightly to find the right solution. Also, there are just things that it's not the right time, it's not the right audience, which we'll dive into all that. But if business owners subscribed to that philosophy, if you like, whatever it takes for as long as it takes until it takes, I think we'd have a lot more successful people. As you alluded to, I think a lot of people just quit because it all gets too hard. They're not seeing what they expect. They're not looking for evidence that things are working. They're not looking for the opportunities to pivot. So that's what we'll be able to dive into today.
Well, I think there's two levels to it. So there's probably maybe one is you want to start a business. If that's your goal, right, you probably shouldn't lead with that. But if that's your goal, then there's probably a few ideas within that subset that you have to test. So you might go, I tried starting this one, didn't work. And then you give up on that. And then I tried starting that one, didn't work. And then I gave up. And that's okay. But if your goal is the high level goal, like for me on YouTube was like, I want to grow on YouTube because I know that the outcome is more eyeballs, attention, more trust, more leverage in time, etc. And so I'd done hundreds of videos over a long period of time, and I wasn't, as committed, or I didn't know what to say, or I'd get in and I'd sort of fumble my way around without a plan or something like that. And for ages, I wasn't getting the results. So I didn't quit doing YouTube, but I did quit some of the approaches or the way that I went about it. So that subset is like pivot and test within an overarching goal or an idea. And if you finally hit that thing, because if you don't test, you have to fail to win. If you don't test, you're never going to find that one thing that goes. And you might have this is the world's most amazing product, and it solves a problem really well. But if you have zero adoption, you don't have a business.
That's right. You have a charity potentially if there's any adoption at all.
Yeah, and maybe the idea is nice, the solution is nice, people are interested, but no one pays. You can't scale that. Like it doesn't win. Or maybe the product is just right. For example, there are quite a few common, well-known books that had absolutely no sales until they kind of rebranded. And then at the moment they did that, they become the well-known book. So one is called All's Well That Ends Well. Have you heard of that one?
I have not. Tell me more.
They rebranded it to War and Peace.
Oh my goodness. There you go.
Yeah. Catch 11.
There you go.
They rebranded it to Catch 22. They doubled their efforts.
Love that. No.
So,
yeah,
you know,
okay.
So it's not like, so when to quit might be, maybe you haven't tried for long enough. I've got another example where we had an e-commerce product, you know, we had a patent, and we made like, you know, between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. made like thousands of these things just in the home office. And we were making this product, and it didn't fit the market because, you know, I think it sold, it definitely sold, but we really had to work to educate the market. And it was just such an uphill battle to get people to understand it. And then once people got it, they loved it. And, you know, there is a hurdle in educating the market. Maybe if you don't have to educate the market, it's something that easily sells. Maybe it's like you know, some new door handle thing that's safer or whatever, then that might go, oh, what a better idea than the existing product. But if it's something that's like a little bit different, requires more thinking, if you have to train them, that takes time. So if you quit too early, maybe you do effectively train the audience on the new product, and then it takes as the new normal. That is totally fine, but that takes a lot of time and work to build. For us, COVID knocked the wind out of our sails, and that was not worth trying to recover at that point. But the business worked. We sold you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stock. We started overseas manufacturing. You know, we made 1,000 units at, you know, like a quarter of the cost of what it was taking us making it ourselves. And but, you know, like, it was a lot of effort, it was a lot of work. There are hard times, and if I had have just stopped early, then it wouldn't have gone. But there were a lot of other factors as to the reason why we decided to quit. But that was after a couple of years of trying to make it happen.
Got it. And would you go back to it? Would you revisit it?
If I had a bigger audience and more money, then I might consider it. Whilst we're here, we do have a couple of comments. How you going, James? So he's saying, we're finding the marketing approach that made the business successful over the past decade is not working to scale into new markets and sectors. So that's a good point, in that, you know, like, when to quit as a subset of the overarching idea. So you're still going on with the business. That's great. And you're tweaking and testing, and, you know, applying the same thing here is not always a complete cut and paste over there. Tweaking the messaging a little bit to suit that other sector sounds like it would be more effective. And we've got a few more comments here. There is a little bit of a delay, so if you're watching, thank you for your patience for our answers. Had to quit and start something else. So I think that's coming through again. Another one. So we need to quit the old way and try something new, more aggressive, to make it work. Yeah. So what would be the evidence or the signs that something is starting to catch on? You know, like, I know that even with our business community, we've doubled in the last 12 months, more than doubled in the last 12 months. But that's off a low base. And so sometimes you really need to you get glimpses of those early wins. And it's not the hockey stick growth that you think it's going to be. But there might be more activities, more conversations, there's more interest. And you need that time to percolate. And I think if you set your mind to the right time span, then you will be able to deal with the fact that it's probably going to take a year, because, you know, maybe each sales conversation takes 3 months from start to close, but you don't know those numbers until you're partway through the engagement, or partway through the sales process, and you've had enough evidence.
100%. Yes, absolutely. Another thing I think that's come up for me in the past, Aven, I feel like you would not suffer from this affliction. I have shiny object syndrome, and I like to take on too many projects. So, like, similar to your story, I developed an e-commerce product. It was selling really well, and I think it could have really gone. I just didn't have the bandwidth because it required at that initial stage, like it required too much effort for me to put it together and get it out to people. So I'm running my consultancy business, and I had this other thing that was going, and it went really well, but I didn't have the bandwidth to commit to it. So I had to make a decision. So sometimes it's that we've got too many things that we're juggling, and we have to pick a lane. Sometimes it comes down to that.
Well, I often look for things that have a lot of crossover. So if I do this thing over here, it's the same target customer, or it's, you know, this before they get to work with you. So now you're doing all the pre-work to have that relationship to then when they, like, say, for example, there's an example given in a networking event that that I've been to where they tell the story of the hot potato, and it's like a new couple have gotten together, and so there's, you know, an opportunity for a wedding planner, and then there's the photographer, then there's the event venue, then there's the caterer, and then afterwards now they're looking at buying the house. And now that's across a number of different service providers, but you can almost have, there's a sequence of events in a particular business. So do you own some of those sequences before, during, and after your core service?
Right. And that's very logical, right? Very logical, very, very intelligent way to approach it, because it's very systematic. Absolutely.
So, you know, I think one thing to be aware of is that losing is still winning.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
When to quit, and that can feel like losing, but I think it's when to make an intelligent decision to redirect your energy into something that's working. But knowing what doesn't work is equally as valuable as knowing what does. So if you're running you know, I would say a big thing is in like consulting is that it's very experiential. Like you need someone that has been there, done that, they've felt the pain and the sting of defeat, and they're selling their experience, the value of what they've learned that does not work. And that helps find what does work. So they've made a profitable business of making mistakes. So that adds to the value that they have. Don't do this because that'll happen. How do I know? Happened to me.
Yes, I wear the scars of that situation. Do not repeat my mistakes or my lessons, if you will.
And you know, it's like the Thomas Edison and the light bulb. You know, finding 10,000 ways how not to build a light bulb, but then documenting it. The same thing occurs within, you know, like a community forum. Someone's got a question. Maybe no one has the answer, but someone goes, I tried this, didn't work. Tried that, didn't work. Tried that, didn't work. Now we have, you know, 3, 4, 5 answers for what not to try.
We can cross off. Yeah, exactly.
And it's that shared knowledge and that shared learning that gets everybody to the thing that does work.
Absolutely.
Or maybe there's nuance. So maybe it worked for someone, but it didn't work for that person. And then that nuance is like, well, here is why. You know, that's even more.
Right. And then you take that information, run it through your own filter, and apply where necessary, team.
Yeah. So I run everything through Avon GPT, which is takes longer to process, sometimes gets cranky, needs sleep, but yeah, it works.
It serves its purpose. It's great. I love it.
I think another, and we've kind of said it already, but like going for long enough. Like a lot of times people just give up too soon. You know, if I had to stop, like it's taken me, it probably took the first 5 years of just, you know, bumbling around on YouTube to go, here's what, you know, one, I'm going to take it seriously now. And here's what I know works, or figure out what works, and figure out a sustainable model where I could keep going. But if I didn't push hard enough, long enough, I wouldn't get to a position where I go, yep, I'm comfortable. Sure, I'm not like making it my full-time job, so I'm not growing like crazy, but it's good enough for me. It works. It, you know, it gets me results. And I've not made it a thing where it becomes my sole focus. I can still run my business, but it probably took, you know, 8 to 12 months of solid, you know, determined effort every month or every week to get to a position where I could say, this is now starting to get its own legs and starting to build its own value. So that's kind of how I try to think about, you know, the YouTube example is because it notoriously takes time. You go and listen to all the other YouTubers. They're like, well, you have to be going for long enough, and then the algorithm will pick up, and you will get that snowball growth. But if you don't get out of the gates, and if you give up when you get to 3 subscribers, and then, or you've been going for a year and you still only got 17, well, you're probably, you know, another month away from that big break, but you gave up too soon.
Exactly. And you never know how close you are. And just to drill into something you said earlier, so many people I talk to, they're not willing to go through that bumbling or discomfort phase where you don't know what you're doing. You need to go through that messy, yucky, learn by breaking stuff phase to actually gain some progress and some momentum. So get comfortable with that uncomfortable situation to make progress.
Well, everybody doing podcasts these days, it seems like every man and his dog's got a podcast. It's easy to create a podcast. This effectively, I just tick a box on the back end of YouTube and it becomes a podcast on YouTube Music. I've gone back and reworked my my Spotify podcast, which then aggregates onto like 10 other channels. And it's really just an extension of this. But the value is that it's on another medium that people are, you know, find easier to consume rather than sitting down in front of a video for a period of time. And most people that started podcasting probably gave up after about 20 episodes. They put in all the effort. They've gone and, you know, hired people to do all of the editing, and they thought, wow, I've got this grand vision of where it's going to take me. But then they stop. Not like very few get to the 100 episodes plus. And the ones that do that, it's probably another 1 year, 2 year, 3 years down the line where they've got so much of a bank of content that every new listener now goes, oh, wow. And I'll just listen to another one and another one and another one.
Exactly.
And then you're in their head, like right between the ears for like 16 hours straight. And that is power. That is more power than what I could do in, you know, a one-to-one meeting that I'd probably get for like an hour. They get to hear me over and over again, or
exactly. Us. Exactly. Builds trust, right?
Yeah. So the same can be said for different elements of your business. Some of you are not, or quitting too soon, and some of you aren't quitting fast enough.
Yes.
At least look for some feedback. Like, it may not be dollars, but it might be interest, intent. It might be conversations. Like, you really need to understand when to quit. But it's a difficult question, and maybe, you know, it would be good. Obviously, we've had a few comments today. It would be good if you've got anything you want to say about, you know, when is the right time to quit, or maybe you can put the question to us in the community. Just joining down here, and we can help you identify, you know, when might be the right time to quit. You know, whether you need to push harder or whether you need to, you know, throw in the towel and do something else.
Absolutely. We can help you work out what data you need to look at, like what information should I be distilling down so that you can make an educated decision.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's pretty much everything we need to cover for today. Did you have anything else to add?
Stay classy.
That's my line.